This episode of Gather and Go is sponsored by Colette. Since 1918, Colette has been leading the guided travel industry with more than 170 expertly curated tours and 5 distinct travel styles, from small groups to cruising and beyond. Colette works with groups from banks to senior centers to garden clubs and everything in between, meaning there's a tour that's perfect for yours too. Plus, Colette makes it easy to set up and manage your group travel program, providing you with local support, marketing materials, and more. Trips are led by local experts in the area, and every detail is taken care of, meaning your group just has to pack their bags and go. Learn more at gocollette.com/groups. Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to Gather and Go, the podcast that helps you plan, promote, and lead better trips. I'm Brian Jewell. I am your host. I am so happy that you decided to join me today. And as always, our promise to you is that we're going to do everything we can to make this investment of your time worth your while. Now, today I have a great and really inspiring featured conversation with Darci Murray. Darci is the founder of the alcohol-free travel company Hooked. And in this interview, you're going to hear how Darci discovered that alcohol dependence was negatively impacting her travel experience. She's going to tell us the inspirational story behind her alcohol-free tour company and share how she creates deep and meaningful connections between her travelers on those tours. Really fun conversation. I think you're going to love it. Before we get there, though, let's start with some travel news you may have missed. Tourism industry leaders are pushing back against policies impacting inbound travel. The Beyond Borders Tourism Coalition, an alliance of U.S. and Canadian tourism associations, issued a call last week for, quote, urgent policy clarity and coordinated action in the face of escalating tariffs and recent funding cuts. The coalition includes organizations such as the American Bus Association, the National Tour Association, the International Inbound Travel Association, the Student and Youth Travel Association, and the United States Tour Operators Association. The announcement cites the recent decline in inbound travel to the U.S. from Canada and other countries, saying the tense rhetoric and aggressive trade policies are threatening the livelihoods of thousands of American tourism workers and many Canadian tour operators who frequently bring groups to the United States. The coalition is urging policymakers in the U.S. and Canada to prioritize negotiation, transparency, and cross-border cooperation over protectionist measures, saying that divisive trade and fiscal policies should be reassessed. Well, now it's time for the road tip segment of our show. This is the part of every episode where we reach deep into our bag of travel knowledge from decades on the road and bring you tips to make your next trip less stressful and more successful. Now, in today's featured conversation, you're going to hear Darci Murray's story of choosing to travel alcohol-free, and she's going to talk about how she crafts great experiences for others who have made that same decision. It got me thinking, maybe we should get in front of this issue, which does seem to be a growing movement in the culture. Maybe we should get in front of it by asking people straight up when they register for our trips whether this is a choice they have made as well. Now, if you think about it, you probably already ask people about their dietary preferences, allergies, medical needs, things like that. And while you're gathering that kind of information, could be a great time to also ask, have you chosen to live alcohol-free or chosen to abstain? Word it the way you want to word it. But I think that gathering people's information about these choices in their lives around alcohol could help you better prepare experiences that you can customize to them. See, if you know who in your group doesn't drink, well, that allows you to plan great alternative treats for them. That could be mocktails. It could be some kind of specialty dessert. It could be a platter of cookies that's delivered to their room instead of a bottle of champagne, something like that. Some kind of goodies that say to them, we recognize you, we see you, we respect your choices, and we are committed to welcoming and delighting you just as you are. Having this information would also allow you to plan ahead, working with restaurants or other travel partners to make sure everyone feels included as part of the tour and that no one has to have that awkward moment of saying no, thank you to a drink. So if you serve a welcome drink, a welcome cocktail at one of your meals, you could already have some mocktail alternatives made for your alcohol-free guests. The waiters could even perhaps know who those people are and deliver it in a way that is very inclusive and doesn't leave that person in that situation where they have to, politely decline. If you collect this information in advance, you might even use it to put together some alternative activities if you know your itinerary is going to include visits to places like wineries, breweries, or distilleries. Some alcohol-free travelers are still happy to visit those places. For others, going to those places might be problematic. So if you know you have several of them in your group ahead of time, it gives you the opportunity to plan an alternative activity for them so that they know you are still trying to deliver top value for them. You still want to give them a great experience, and you are thinking about their needs. So to sum up, here's the important thing. If you gather information about people's alcohol preferences before the trip, it gives you the opportunity to make everyone feel included and prevents your travelers from having to exclude themselves from something later on. And to me, the entire mission of group travel is inclusiveness. So that makes this extra step well worth taking. That is your road tip of the week. Now, before we move on, I want to take just a minute and share a little bit of news from us. If you've listened to recent episodes of the program, you may have heard me talking about our on-site familiarization tour coming up to the state of Alabama. Now, that's coming up at the end of September. It runs September 30th through October 4th. And spots on that are going quickly. But we do have a few spots left. And if you are a travel planner who is interested in learning about Huntsville and Muscle Shoals and Birmingham and some of the fantastic sites to take your groups in those cities, I want to make sure you don't miss your window to apply for this fantastic trip. I just got a look at the itinerary yesterday, and it is jam-packed full of goodness. This isn't one you're going to want to miss. So if you apply to attend this FAM, you just need to be available September 30th through October 4th. And if you're accepted, you can visit these great cities with hosts from Alabama Tourism, as well as me. I will be there in person for the entire tour. You will also get to meet our newest team member, Ashley DeLucia, who I think you are going to love. Now, how do you get your name in the running for this? Well, the deadline for applications is August 15th. So you've got just over a week from the day this episode comes out. So to sign up to get your application in, go to grouptravelleader.com/Alabama-FAM. I'm going to put that link in the show notes to make it easy for you to click straight through. Go there, fill out our quick form, get your application in, and we will review it along with our Alabama hosts. And I'll let you know, the sooner you get that application in, the better your chances are of grabbing one of those 3 or 4 remaining spots that we have on this trip. Once again, that's September 30th through October 4th in Alabama. If you want to join us, visit grouptravelleader.com/Alabama-FAM. And I look forward to seeing you there. Well, it's just about time for us to get into that featured conversation with Darci Murray. As we do that, let me remind you that you can find a wrap-up of some of the most important things Darci had to say anytime on the show notes for this episode. Show notes, of course, are the text that shows below the audio player wherever you listen to your podcast or lives on the episode page of our website. And you can find show notes for every episode we have ever done, over 80 of them now, at grouptravelleader.com/podcast. I'll also come back at the end of the interview to do a little bit more wrap up, review some of those top points, give you some of my thoughts on those things. And I hope you'll stick around to the end of that wrap up, because after we finish that, I want to take a minute and ask a question you may not stop to think about very often. I want to ask if your trips make your travelers better people, or if maybe they're making them worse. That is the topic of today's Hot Minute. You don't want to miss that. We will be right back with Darci Murray. All right, everybody, I want to take a minute to tell you more about Colette. Because Colette's tours are designed by travelers for travelers, your group will embark on experience-fueled tours that take them beyond the guidebook. They'll see the Eiffel Tower up close, but they'll also get to know local people and experience the destination through their eyes. Think truffle hunters, pearl divers, and cheesemakers. Plus, Colette makes filling and promoting your tour easy. There's no deposit or minimum group size required, so your booking is totally risk-free. Colette also provides free marketing materials to promote the tour to your community with the help of your own local business development manager, who can answer any questions you may have. Visit gocolette.com/groups to get started. All right, everybody. My guest today is a lifelong tourism professional who literally grew up in the travel industry. After a group trip at age 21 introduced her to a lifestyle of heavy drinking on the road, she walked away from alcohol in 2017. 4 years later, her sober lifestyle inspired her to launch Hooked, an alcohol-free travel company designed to help travelers foster deeper conversations and more meaningful connections. Darci Murray, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. So excited to share some of your stories with our listeners. But, before we talk about Hooked and your personal journey, you got to give us a little insight into what it was like growing up in the travel industry, because that's not an experience many people have. So tell us how you were born into it, what that looked like, what it looks like today.
Well, my mother still owns the umbrella company that Hooked operates under. But so she was in the travel industry from as long as I can remember. And I just remember being a little girl going to her office, and that was like at the time of brochures, right? Like all the brochures, and I'd file the brochures for her. And there were so many posters. You'd always get these posters. That a travel agency was always covered with posters back in the day. And I loved the posters. I loved the brochures, and I loved her globe. And I would constantly spin her globe, with my finger going up and down until it stopped. And it was like, okay, I've landed here. And I would research that destination. And it's always been a huge part of my life.
Yeah. So have you ever had moments in your career as an adult where you find yourself on the road and you look around and you say, I'm in a place that I remember pointing to on that globe, and like, this is my real actual life now?
Yeah, of course. All the time, for sure. And the life of somebody in the travel industry, we truly are blessed. We get to see some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the umbrella company does a lot of different kinds of work, some group trips among that, right?
Yes, we have 35 independent contractors within our agency, and they all have their own niche. Mine is alcohol-free travel, but we do corporate, we do sport team travel, we do some cruising, a lot of bucket list travel, and a lot of adventure. We have several adventure agents within the agency.
Yeah, fantastic. So age 21, you're out of school, you take a trip with a bunch of other young people.
Contiki, come on.
Hey, I'm not going to name them, but if you want to name them, that's up to you. And it's a party.
Yes.
In some ways, I'm sure that was a lot of fun. In some ways, maybe it didn't send you down the best road. Tell us about that experience and what it sort of...
it wasn't that trip. I made lots of decisions on my own that took me down a not so good road.
Okay.
The trip was great. The trip was fantastic. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. I mean, catering to a younger crowd. But did I see the sights? Did I get any culture? Probably not. Like I was the person that was out really late, and, all the bars look the same in Europe at nighttime that they do in Canada. So people might have different accents, but the bars are the same, right?
Yeah.
And, then on the bus, I would be sleeping, as we went from destination A to B, and you just didn't get any cultural experience whatsoever, but it was fun.
Yeah. There is a fun element to that. And I feel like in tourism marketing and broader culture, there is at least a corner of tourism marketing where we put a heavy emphasis on all the bars and all the parties, and you should have this cocktail in this destination and this cocktail in that destination. How do you feel that maybe takes away from the kind of experiences that people could be having if they weren't so focused on drinking it every step of the way?
Oh, 100%. Like you're just not, again, experiencing the culture per se. There's so many hours lost, right, in the itinerary that are just sitting around looking for the happy hour, finding the happy hour, and then not having an early start, right? So with Hooked, we do start early. We do end earlier. We see way more than the average tour company. And I focus on what I call full sensory experiences. So when you're not drinking, all your senses are intact. So I try to play off that. So, in Iceland, we did cold water plunges. We try to do like a dancing activity or always a cooking lesson. Every destination, we definitely throw in a cooking lesson or, a photography lesson, or we just really play off the senses. Any opportunity for senses, I incorporate.
Yeah. And you feel like it's fundamentally harder to have those full sensory experiences when you're a little tipsy or a little hungover or regretting the decisions you made last night.
For sure. Yeah. And you might skip it too. Like maybe if it was offered, you'd skip it, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So you traveled a lot in the time between when you became an adult and when you decided to cut alcohol out of your life. What was that travel experience like? How do you feel that the drinking held you back from the travel you wish you had done?
Oh, just that I never had the opportunity to experience the food and the culture, and just back to that again. I know if I sound like I'm saying the same thing, but you're just not experiencing the destination at all.
Yeah. And you probably just don't feel great, right? I mean, I can't imagine your body feels good when you're putting it through that every day.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell us about when you realized this isn't working for my life. What inspired that, and what was the change process like for you?
Oh, my kids, for sure. Like I'm a mom. I have 4 children, 4 boys actually, and it was impeding on just being the best mom I could possibly be. So just a chain of events happened, and I just realized, you know what, this isn't for me. It's a coping mechanism that is not suiting me very well. So let's let it go. And I, adopted a group of friends that helped me through that journey, because it's not a journey that's the easiest on your own.
Yeah.
Once you've established a bad habit, they're hard to break, right?
Right.
Like whether it's smoking or drinking or overeating or whatever that unhealthy addiction habit might be, it's a hard chain to break. But when you're with a group of like-minded people, it becomes way easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a memory of the first time or a time you went on a trip after you had made that change in your life, and how different the travel experience was once you were sort of 100% present?
Yeah, there was this one trip. We were in Vietnam, and the 2 girls that I was with, they went down to the bar, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go. And I stayed in my room by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, this is really, really boring. And I felt sorry for myself. Yeah. But that wasn't what made me establish Hooked. That was like years ago. So that's a memory.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, yeah,
You
for
go on.
sure, for sure. So, well, let's just start talking about that. What was the catalyst for you to say, "Hey, wait a minute, there's a better way to travel in a sober way and to do it in community"? What was the light bulb moment for you?
A girlfriend. So it was during COVID, 2021, and I was always really shameful of my choice to not drink, which is so crazy, right? Like I was embarrassed that I was a person that couldn't properly socially have alcohol, and I held on to that shame for a really long time, which is quite sad. But anyway, my girlfriend had posted on Facebook that she started this alcohol-free coaching business. And I was like, oh my God, good for her, right? And I messaged her and I'm like, hey, I'm not drinking either. Like, let's get together for coffee. So we went for coffee, and she's a super strong entrepreneur spirit. And she's like, hey, like, well, let's you and I go on a trip. And I was like, hey, well, And then she said, let's make it a girls' trip. And I'm like, well, why would we make it a girls' trip? And I was single at the time and, and knock out half the population, right? Like that seems kind of silly. And is literally in the span of a 20-minute coffee, we started researching and seeing what was out there for the alcohol-free traveler. And there's a lot of recovery focus. There's definitely a lot of retreats, but there's not anything like what Hooked is doing, where it's just an inclusiveness concept, right? So whether you're sober curious, whether you don't drink, whether you are sober supportive, we have lots of sober supportive people that travel with us too. It's about the inclusiveness factor.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly looking, like what you were saying, people look for the bars or whatever, or the happy hours. I'm constantly looking for the restaurant or the bar that offers the mocktail menu.
Yeah. There's a couple things I want to dig into there. You use some terms that maybe not everyone is familiar with: sober curious, sober supportive. Can you kind of unpack those, help us understand what those mean and who those people are?
There's also gray area drinking. That's another term.
Okay.
So sober curious is like, they're looking at that lifestyle, right? Like it's become super prominent. You can't go to a grocery store now and not notice, like they used to have a non-alc section that was like 2 or 3 things. And now it's like half an aisle, right? It's massive. Where are all these companies popping up from? And that's stemming into into travel as well now. But sober curious is where they're looking at that lifestyle and they're thinking, maybe this is for me. Gray area drinking is, maybe they notice that they have some patterns on weekends. It's not a daily thing, but that's something that needs to be addressed. Sober supportive would be like my brother. My brother's coming to Alaska with us and he does drink, but when we're on board on our cruise, there are going to be several Hooked events, like alcohol-free events, and he'll be mindful of the situation and not have a drink there, you know?
Yeah.
So sober supportive, I mentioned, that's family members or friends of people that don't drink. Gray area drinking, you're monitoring it. Sober curious, you're just really curious about the lifestyle.
Yeah. Have you seen examples of people who come in that curious place and then make a decision after some kind of experience to say like, yeah, that's a lifestyle I'm going to adopt for myself?
Not 100% totally make the change yet, but yeah, there's a lot of conversation and it is super inspiring, right?
Yeah. And they're seeing that it is possible to have a great time. And it is possible to have friends around you. And it is possible to enjoy all these things that are an important part of life. And maybe you don't have to, be nursing a drink to do it.
Yeah, that's so key, Brian, because like that time I was telling you, I was sitting in the hotel room alone, right? And now, I am the life of the party when we go out and I am finding the mocktails. And when we get into our cruise ship, there's going to be alcohol-free champagne sitting in our room. Like it's the same. Like if I go to a restaurant and the only thing that's offered on the menu is like a Diet Coke or a Shirley Temple, it's insulting. It's like telling me to go to the children's table and sit in the corner, right? I work just as hard as everybody else. I want something fancy in my glass and I love the cheersing opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a ritual element to it that maybe isn't linked to the chemical, but it's like 100%. You said, the fancy glass, the crafted, somebody put a lot of effort into crafting the flavors and, textures and the temperature of this drink you're going to have. And there's that community aspect of like, we're celebrating something or we're all happy to be together and we're going to make a toast and we're kind of, putting a stake in the ground in this moment. Like this moment is special for some reason, right? This moment is significant. And it doesn't require alcohol.
Absolutely. There's something about having that glass that just provides confidence to people when they're, in a social environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. So tell me about mocktails. That's a term I think a lot of people know a lot of. My experience with them in the past has not always been great. An alcohol-free Bloody Mary pretty much was just tomato juice. Back in the day, I didn't enjoy that too much. But tell us about the mocktail scene right now. What are some of the things that people are coming up with? Surprise us with some of the drinks out there.
Well, the same. But there's alcohol-free tequilas, there's alcohol-free gins, there's alcohol-free everything. They cost more, believe it or not. because they're making them in smaller batches, right? And in some instances, the wines, oh my goodness. So wines, they're taking out the alcohol. So they're making the wine and then they're removing the alcohol. So that's another process that's added to it, which makes it, more expensive. And then again, smaller batches, right?
Yeah.
But no, they're doing the smoking. They're doing the torching. They're doing everything with mocktails now.
Yeah.
There's whiskeys.
Yeah. I have tried an alcohol-free bourbon and I was shocked how bourbony it was. I mean, it had all the notes of that, the smokiness and the sweetness and
the burn.
Yeah. So how does the taste of the cocktail, pick a cocktail that's made with one of those alcohol-free, a gin and tonic or an old fashioned. How does the taste compare?
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. Yeah. That's all I can say. And it has the adult flavor. So I guess that's when I was saying, like, don't send me to the kids' table. It has the adult flavor. For some people, in the recovery world. So we have people that are in recovery. We have people that are just doing it for lifestyle. We have people that are doing it for health choices, people that do it for religious reasons. But it's the same like-mindedness that creates the element to the group, and they're able to bond really, really, really quickly, right?
Yeah.
Over that one thing. So like I compare it to a group of runners all the time because I run. Right. And they've got their Garmins, they're doing their sets, and they've got their swag or their outfits or whatever. Right. And they can hold a conversation on 2-in-1s and marathons and half marathons and 10Ks or whatever and timing. And it's just a conversation that happens so naturally. And it's the same thing for the people that don't drink. It doesn't matter what the reason. It really doesn't matter. They just all come together.
Yeah.
And they just cut through the crap. Right. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us more about the kinds of people coming on these trips. You mentioned they're sober or abstaining for all kinds of reasons, but what else can you tell us about where they're coming from? Is there any kind of demographic that they have in common, or is a very wide array?
40 to 70 is my age group for sure.
Mm-hmm.
People that are on a self-development journey. Definitely more women are traveling than men, but men do come. What else can I say? And being on the self-development journey, like I'm trying to still coin up the word of what we are, because we're wellness, but we're not drinking green smoothies and doing yoga, where it's more of a mindset wellness than anything else.
Yeah. So it's not so much that they share demographic features, but almost psychographic features. Like they're on the same internal journey, and that's what brings them together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
Being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And 40 to 70, it sounds like many of them are still in their prime career years. So it's maybe not the traditional group tour we think of where, a bunch of retired people go on a trip together. Like these are some folks who are still working.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So the big question.
The kids are gone. Like the kids are everybody's kids seems to be a bit older so that they have the time to do it.
Yeah. Well, as a parent of elementary school kids, I know how hard it would be to sneak away to, Europe or whatever for 2 weeks without them. So big question, where do you go? What are your destinations, and what are the itineraries and activities looking like when you get there?
Okay, so I can speak to that. When I first opened Hooked, we went to Iceland. That was our first trip, and that was because it was like the cleanest place in the world, and it was also stemming off the show Down to Earth with Darren O'Leen and Zac Efron.
Okay,
so Zac Efron is sober, and Darren O'Leen is like this superfood kind of guru kind of guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they went around Iceland and did all these great things. So we kind of followed in their footsteps. We figured, a clean alcohol-free company. Let's follow that. The second trip was to Italy, and then Greece and Nashville. And we also did Tanzania. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? And now we're doing Alaska, Thailand, and Germany this year. This year's crazy. So it went from the first trip was only 3 people to the second trip was 14. To the third trip was 14 again, and Nashville was 6. So we operate in groups of like ideally 6 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
Alaska's more because I have a special guest that's coming, like an influencer in the in the sober space,
Yeah.
in the alcohol-free space.
Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
So that 6 to 16 target, is that something you're pretty intentional about? Is there sort of like a strategic reason why you target that number?
Because there's one host, and I find that that's a good number to just kind of manage and make sure that the relationships are there and nobody's getting left out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, so the first trip we went to Iceland, and then I was like searching for destinations, and I put out this Morocco trip, and I find this fascinating. And I was like, Morocco's fantastic. They got tea. It's not known for drinking. They got sun, they got camels, they got spices, they got crafts. It's a fantastic destination for the alcohol-free traveler. Is so full sensory. And it was like crickets. I could not get people to get interested in this trip come love or money. Like, it was crazy. And I was super surprised. So I held a focus group, and it was an alcohol-free travel focus group. Come join me. Let's chat, and I'll buy you a mocktail at this mocktail bar here in Vancouver. And I had about 14 people show up, and they all had their mocktail, and we're going around the room. And I'm like, so where do you guys want to go? And it was like Ireland, Greece, Italy, cruises, Vegas. And I was like, what's wrong with you people? Ireland is beer. Greece is ouzo. Italy is wine. Vegas is sin.
Right. All the sins.
Cruises are all inclusive. I was like baffled. And that's when I really took a turn. It's like, it's not necessarily the destination. It's the inclusiveness factor. They want to do all the same things, but they want the camaraderie of the group. Right.
Yeah.
So now, oh my goodness, I'm taking that to another level. We're leading the world's first alcohol-free wine tour in Germany in October, which is nuts. So Germany is producing some fantastic alcohol-free wines. The alcohol-free process was actually developed in Germany in 1907 by a guy named Carl Jung. So, and actually he's still producing wine today. Well, he's not alive anymore, but he's still producing wine today. So we're visiting that one, which takes place in a castle, alcohol-free wine being produced right in a castle in Germany. And then we're visiting 3 others in Germany, and then off to Vienna to a place called Geronimo. And they're producing a very, very high caliber alcohol-free wine just outside of Vienna. So
yeah,
amazing. Isn't that the coolest? We're doing an alcohol-free wine tour.
if I hadn't heard you explain it to me, I literally wouldn't believe it was possible.
Yeah.
Well,
so get on our socials and follow us, because we're going to be posting all about this alcohol-free wine tour for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to follow that. So is it going to include the same sorts of things you would do at other wineries? Are you going to get to, tour the facility, do tastings, meet a winemaker, all that sort of thing?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's exactly what we're doing. Doing the cheese, sitting in the garden, having the lunches and doing the tastings. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's really all those sort of sophisticated cultural moments that adults enjoy just without what alcohol does to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I love that.
Another one that we're doing this summer is Thailand. So I talk in stories. I apologize, Brian. When I went to Italy, my son was graduating from so I have 4 boys, right? So my eldest son was graduating from high school when we did our Italy trip. And I wanted to reach this 14 number. I wanted 14 people to be on the trip, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know what? I'm taking my son. This will be his present, right? And I'm like, hey, Dayton, you're coming to Italy and you're going to be hanging out with all these alcohol-free travelers. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he's like, hey, Mom, can I invite my friend Josh? And I was like, and I got all timid and kind of weird about it. I'm like, I don't know how Josh's parents would feel about you going on an alcohol-free alcohol-free trip, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I really want my friend to go. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll do it. So I called up the friend of my son's, so the parent of my son's friend. And I'm like, look, we're going to Italy and it's a group of alcohol-free travelers, and Dayton wants to know if your son wants to join them. And they're like, sure. And I'm like, do you want to know how much it is? Do you want to know where we're going, what cities we're going? Do you want to know how long we're going for? There were no questions. They were sold on the fact that they were going with alcohol-free people and that their child was, not going to die.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And then my son said, like, I want to invite my friend Trevor too. And the same thing with that set of parents as well. They couldn't have cared less where we were going, how much, just where do I sign the check?
Yeah.
And so now onto that note, this year, being that worked out so well, and I got the mindset there of the parents, right? There's lots of Christian kind of trips where they go and build schools and stuff, but not necessarily secular for kids that's safe. So yeah, there's a component of my company, Hooked, and it's called the Dry Grad Program. And this year we're going to Thailand. We've got 4 kids, 3 adults, and there's a group of 7 of us that are headed off to Thailand. And we're going to do all the spots in Thailand, no booze. Yeah. And then we spend a full week with Volunteer World in an elephant sanctuary at the end.
How amazing. Those kids are going to remember that trip literally for the rest of their lives.
It's going to be so cool.
Yeah. Super cool. So when you look at culture in general throughout North America, what do you see happening in culture regarding alcohol use? Do you think the sober curious movement or whatever you want to call it is something that is going to continue to grow, or is it maybe kind of a blip that it will pass from the screen at some point?
Oh no, I don't think it's even just it's going to be just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's like smoking. It's going to be just as taboo as smoking.
Wow.
I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, make a big statement. I'm all about it.
Right. Like it's just like if alcohol was found today, it would be considered a Class A drug.
I have heard people say that if we discovered alcohol today, we would consider it more dangerous than marijuana.
Yeah. Yeah. A Class A drug. Whereas marijuana is not Class A, right?
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So, a lot of our listeners are tour operators, they're travel agents, they're putting their own trips together. Do you have any ideas about ways that they can better serve clients who are alcohol free, or be sensitive to what that means in their lifestyle, be supportive of those decisions, maybe if they come on a general trip that is not specifically alcohol free?
Just the little extras, like the amenities. Like when I said the alcohol-free champagne in the room, like we traveled with Explora, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And just that was brilliant. Just walking into that room and having the alcohol-free champagne in the room, like it was such a treat, Or they can produce like we were talking about the alcohol-free gins and stuff like that. You can get that in their room, like that would blow their mind. But it depends on the traveler, because like I said, not every alcohol-free person wants the mimic of mocktails and stuff. Some people might find that a slippery slope.
Yeah. So there are some people who might say this gets me too close to a feeling
depending
that
on
could
their
trigger me.
journey. Yeah, depending on their journey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That makes sense. So tell me about this emphasis you put on, fostering connections, deep conversations. How does that happen on your trips, and how does the alcohol-free nature of it maybe facilitate those real, bonding experiences?
Anybody that's on an alcohol-free journey tends to not talk surface talk, right? So we had this girl, she's from Minneapolis, and she's traveled twice with me. She's been to Italy and Greece, and she's actually coming to Vancouver this summer. And she phrased it beautifully. She's like, I don't want to talk about the weather. Like, the fact that we all have something in common, she's just like, it gets to the nitty gritty. And I feel after 24 hours, like I've known you guys all my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you're shooting for, right? And that's kind of a common experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, there's so many wonderful things you're doing here. I could talk to you about it all day. What is the best way for people to learn about Hooked or get in touch with you, follow you online, follow this great trip coming up to Germany?
Well, first off, so Hooked is set up as a wholesale company. So any travel agents that are listening, we are a commissionable enterprise, right?
Yeah.
For Instagram is my best platform. That's where I'll post first, it's at Hooked Alcohol Free Travel. And then our website is hooked-on-travel.com.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. We will link to all that in the show notes. Now, before I let you go, we have some questions we ask everybody. These are just for fun. So, yeah, no pressure. No pressure. They're fairly easy. When you book travel, do you book a window seat or an aisle seat?
Aisle.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too high energy. I got to stand up all the time.
Got to do some stretches, work those kinks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. What's something in your carry-on you wouldn't travel without?
In my carry-on, I wouldn't travel without toothbrush and toothpaste.
In the carry-on.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart because you don't want that bag to get lost and then have fuzzy teeth for a day or two, right?
And charge cords.
Yeah.
Charge cords.
Got to have those for sure. Yeah. If you had a free airline pass in a week with nothing else to do, where would you head next?
I'm so big on the Maldives right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Week's not that long there though. But yeah.
Well, listen, if we're granting wishes, I can give you 2 weeks if that helps.
Do you know why I love the Maldives so much? Because the time zone is like the exact opposite. So everybody, all my work connections, like they just, they're sleeping when I'm awake. So it's like there's just an element of freedom.
So they're not they're not interrupting you. They're not pinging you with work stuff while you're enjoying the day. Yeah,
can actually enjoy it.
Love that. Our last question is: what's one thing you have seen or done on the road that you wish you could go back and experience again with somebody you love?
Capri. Yeah, Capri. Taking the one-person chairlift up to the top and looking down. I found it to be really incredibly special because there's like church bells going and the scent of lemon in the air. It was so full sensory. I actually started to cry.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds amazing. Fantastic. Darci, it's been a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I sure hope you enjoyed that conversation with Darci as much as I did. I always appreciate it when a guest comes on the show and is willing to talk personally about their story, willing to share their ups and downs and their struggles and their vulnerabilities. And I think we can all say confidently that Darci's journey has put her in a place where she can be a real help to other people throughout our industry. And I certainly commend her for that. Now, I want to take a minute and recap some of the highlights of things Darci said, just to make sure you don't miss them. When we were talking about how alcohol can diminish the travel experience, Darci said there are so many hours lost in the itinerary where you're just sitting around looking for the happy hour. She said, at Hooked, we start early and see way more than the average tour company. We focus on what I call full sensory experiences. When you're not drinking, all your senses are intact. So I try to play off that. I love that Darci identified a problem in what she saw as a typical kind of trip and is really targeting the way she plans her itineraries around the specific needs of her travelers. If you're coming on one of Darci's trips, if being alcohol-free is important to you, then you probably want to lean in the opposite direction of what has been a bad experience in the past. And so you may not be in a situation with your travelers where they want to get up early and see as much as possible. Maybe you're catering to people who are tired and need some real rest and relaxation on your trip. The point is not how soon in the morning you start. The point is recognizing the unique and individual needs of your travelers and then crafting your itineraries and your sort of travel philosophy in a way that is going to meet that need in real and practical and personal ways. Now, when Darci was explaining the community building power of her trips, she said, we have people that are in recovery, people doing it for lifestyle, people doing it for health or religious reasons. But it's the same like-mindedness that creates the element to the group. And they're able to bond really quickly over one thing. It doesn't matter what the reason, they just all come together. And of course, Darci is highlighting one of the most powerful aspects of group travel, which is the community building nature of group travel. And in this age we live in of isolation and polarization, anything we can do to build community is not only a benefit for our travelers or for our businesses, it's a benefit for the society we live in. And I love that Darci doubles down on real community. So it's not small talk. It's not how you doing, where are you from, how many kids you have. But she creates spaces where people with common interests can go deep and build deep relationships. Your trips may not be focused on alcohol-free travelers, but I bet there is something that many of your travelers have in common. And if you can find ways to create those spaces where they can lean into those commonalities, bust down through the layer of small talk that is at the foundation of so many interactions in society these days, and really get into deep connection, well, you will be creating value that goes far beyond the inclusions in your itinerary. And finally, when we were talking about mocktails, Darci said there are alcohol-free tequilas and gins. There's alcohol-free everything. And wines, they're taking out the alcohol. They're making the wine and then removing the alcohol. She said they're doing the smoking, they're doing the torching, they're doing everything with mocktails now. And it has the adult flavor. She said, don't send me to the kids' table. Now, that last statement I thought was so impactful. Really drives home the point that just because somebody makes a value-based decision for their life does not mean they should be treated as an outsider or as lesser than or as immature or anything like that. She makes a great point. People who choose not to drink or choose not to gamble or choose not to do any number of things that are common in tour activities, they deserve to be treated like adults. They deserve to be thrilled and delighted just as much as any other mainstream traveler. And if you can find ways to do that, you are going to earn their loyalty and their future business. Great stuff there from Darci Murray. Well, as I listened to Darci's story and reflected on it this week, kind of got me to thinking, Darci had a travel experience that sort of reinforced something that was becoming a negative impact on her life, and made me wonder if some of us, intentionally or unintentionally, might be leading some of our people into the same kinds of pitfalls. And that line of thought, well, that's going to be the topic of today's Hot Minute. Yeah, that's right. The Hot Minute is the portion of the program where I take 60 seconds to give you my unfiltered views on an issue that impacts tourism every day. And today we're going to ask the question, do your trips make people better or worse? So let's put 60 seconds on the clock and get into it. There are two things I know for sure. What we see and do over time forms us into the people we become. And when we travel, we're more open to new experiences and ideas than any other time in life. And that leads me to this conclusion. The kinds of trips you plan matter not only for your business, but also for your customers' character. The group trips Darci Murray took when she was young reinforced habits and behaviors that took her in bad directions. Your travelers may not struggle with alcohol, but we all have our weaknesses. For me, it's overeating. For others, it could be gambling, materialism, compulsive shopping, or just a mindless detachment from reality. So my question today is this. Are the trips you plan opening the door for your travelers to indulge their worst tendencies? Or are you creating opportunities for them to discover something better? Well, that's the Hot Minute. That's how I see things anyway. Of course, as always, you're welcome to disagree with me, and we can still be friends. And hey, whether you agree or disagree, we would love to hear from you. You can send your thoughts, ideas, or the recipe for your favorite mocktail to podcast@grouptravelleader.com. I read every email that comes into that address. I really love hearing from you. And hey, you never know. Your thoughts or ideas might just be the topic of the next Hot Minute. And hey, while you're in the mood to give us some feedback, would you do me a big favor? Would you go to your favorite podcast playing app and subscribe to the show if you haven't already? While you're there, if you would give us a rating and leave us a review, that would be super helpful. I am so thankful to everyone who has done that so far. My thanks as well to Darci Murray for joining us today. On the next episode, I'm going to bring you a really helpful conversation with Ross Evans of Redpoint, who's going to tell you how you can leverage a visual brand to promote your travel company better. You won't want to miss that. Until then, though, remember this. At the end of the day, we're all on this trip together, so let's make it a good one. See you next time on Gather and Go. Gather and Go is hosted and executive produced by me, Brian Schul. Our publisher is Mac Lacey. Our creative team includes Danya Simmons, Ashley Ricks, and Rachel Crick. Our sales team is Talisa Reck and Ashley DeLucia. To advertise on the podcast, call Talisa at 859-253-0455. Gather and Go is a production of the Group Travel Leader. For more information on our podcast, magazines, and events, visit us online at grouptravelleader.com. This episode was sponsored by Colette. Colette provides industry-leading benefits, including high commissions and low earned tour ratios, to group leaders of all kinds. Head to gocollette.com/groups to learn more.